Hi everyone, my name is Mark, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you. Anna Maria Henao first met David Kniezevich when they were both working in South Florida's technology sector. Anna, originally from Colombia, had immigrated to the United States with dreams of building a successful career. David, a Serbian-American entrepreneur, was building his IT consulting business from the ground up. Although they moved in similar professional circles, it wasn't until they began working together that something deeper began to develop between them. Anna couldn't help but be drawn to David's ambitious nature and entrepreneurial spirit. He had founded EOX Technology Solutions in 2012, a promising IT support company that served businesses throughout Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach. What made David particularly appealing to Anna was his vision for the future and his dedication to building something meaningful. David's persistence and charm eventually convinced Anna to join him at EOX and help build the company together. As their professional relationship deepened, Anna and David discovered they shared more than just business acumen. They both understood the challenges of building a life in America as immigrants, and they found comfort in each other's ambition and drive. Their partnership in business gradually evolved into a romantic relationship, and it became clear to those around them that they were falling deeply in love. It was only a matter of time before David decided to propose to Anna. Their courtship had been built on a foundation of shared goals and mutual respect, and marriage seemed like the natural progression of their relationship. Anna was thrilled when David asked her to be his wife, and she eagerly said yes. Their engagement marked the beginning of what everyone believed would be a successful marriage, both personally and professionally. In 2011, Anna and David celebrated their love in a wedding ceremony that brought together their families and friends from both Colombia and Serbia. Anna took David's surname, becoming Anna Maria Kniezevich, and the couple settled into their new home in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Their wedding was seen by all who attended as the union of two ambitious individuals who were destined for great things together. Anna took on the role of project manager at EOX Technology Solutions, while David served as the company's founder and CEO. Together, they built a successful IT support business that provided services including infrastructure management, network support, and IT consulting. Their client base included reputable companies throughout South Florida, and the business became known for its excellent service. As the years passed, Anna and David's hard work began to pay off significantly. They accumulated substantial wealth through their business ventures and real estate investments, amassing millions of dollars in assets. The couple owned multiple properties in South Florida, including several rental homes that provided additional income streams. To the outside world, Anna and David appeared to be living the American dream, successful immigrants who had built a thriving business through their hard work and dedication. However, beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect marriage, cracks began to appear in Anna and David's relationship. As their business continued to grow and their wealth increased, the pressures of running a company together began to take their toll. Anna started to notice changes in David's behavior and attitude that concerned her deeply. The man she had fallen in love with and married seemed to be evolving into someone she no longer recognized. Anna couldn't help but notice that David was becoming increasingly controlling and possessive. Friends and family members observed that David seemed to monitor Anna's activities closely and didn't appear comfortable with her having independent relationships or pursuits outside of their business. Anna found herself feeling isolated and constrained by David's need to know her whereabouts at all times. Her unease grew as she contemplated whether the man she had married was showing his true colors. As their marriage progressed, Anna began to suspect that David was not being entirely honest with her about various aspects of their life together. She discovered that David had been making financial decisions without consulting her, despite the fact that they were supposed to be equal partners in both their marriage and their business. Anna started to feel that David viewed her more as an employee than as his wife and business partner, and this realization deeply troubled her. The couple's relationship became increasingly strained as Anna began to assert her independence and question David's decisions. She started to express her desire to have more control over their finances and business operations, which David seemed to resist. Anna's friends and family noticed that she appeared less happy and more anxious during this time, though she tried to maintain a positive facade in public. By 2023, Anna's concerns about her marriage had reached a breaking point. She began to confide in close friends and family members about her growing unhappiness with David and her desire to end their marriage. Anna expressed her belief that David did not respect her as an equal partner and that she felt trapped in a relationship that had become toxic and controlling. Her loved ones were saddened to learn about the deterioration of what had once seemed like such a promising marriage. Anna made the difficult decision to begin exploring her options for divorce. However, she quickly discovered that ending her marriage to David would be far more complicated than she had anticipated. The couple's substantial assets, including their business and multiple properties, would need to be divided, and Anna suspected that David would not be cooperative in reaching an equitable settlement. Her unease grew as she realized that David seemed determined to prevent her from receiving what she believed was her fair share of their marital assets. As Anna began to seriously consider divorce, David's behavior became even more concerning. Friends and family members noticed that he seemed increasingly agitated and hostile whenever Anna's name was mentioned. Those close to the couple observed that David appeared to view Anna's desire for independence as a betrayal, and his reactions suggested that he was not prepared to let her go without a fight. In late 2023, Anna made the brave decision to seek some distance from David by spending time in Europe. She told friends and family that she needed space to think about her future and to gain perspective on her marriage. Anna chose to spend time in Madrid, Spain, a city she had grown to love during previous visits. The decision to travel to Spain represented Anna's attempt to reclaim her independence and to figure out her next steps. Anna's decision to travel to Madrid without David marked a significant turning point in their relationship. For the first time in years, Anna was able to experience life on her own terms, free from David's constant monitoring and control. Friends who spoke with Anna during this time reported that she seemed happier and more relaxed than she had been in months. Anna expressed to her loved ones that she was enjoying her independence and was becoming more certain that divorce was the right decision for her. However, David's reaction to Anna's extended stay in Europe was deeply troubling to those who knew the couple. Rather than respecting Anna's need for space, David seemed to become increasingly obsessed with her activities and whereabouts. Friends and family members noticed that David's behavior became erratic and concerning, suggesting that he was not handling the separation well. During the fall of 2023, while Anna was enjoying her newfound freedom in Europe, David began engaging in behavior that would later prove to be significant. Investigators would discover that David had started communicating with a Colombian woman he had met on a dating app in October 2023. This relationship would later play a crucial role in the events that would unfold in February 2024. Anna's time in Madrid had given her the clarity she needed to move forward with ending her marriage to David. She began to make concrete plans for divorce and started consulting with attorneys about how to divide their substantial assets. Anna made it clear to David that she wanted an equitable division of their wealth, including their business and real estate holdings. However, David's response to Anna's demands was far from cooperative. According to family members and court documents, David was vehemently opposed to splitting their marital assets equally with Anna. He seemed to believe that Anna was not entitled to half of their wealth, despite the fact that she had been an integral part of building their business empire. Anna's brother Felipe would later tell investigators that the couple was going through a nasty divorce and there is a substantial amount of money on the line to be split up between the two, and David is not happy about it. As 2023 came to an end, Anna made the decision to spend Christmas and New Year's in Madrid rather than returning to Florida. This decision represented a clear signal that Anna was serious about ending her marriage and starting a new life on her own terms. Anna's family and friends supported her decision, recognizing that she needed to prioritize her own well-being and safety. On December 26, 2023, Anna boarded a flight from Miami to Madrid, marking what would be her final departure from the United States. Anna's decision to spend the holidays away from David was seen by those close to her as a necessary step in the process of ending their marriage. Anna expressed to her loved ones that she felt lighter and more hopeful about her future than she had in years. Anna's life in Madrid during the early weeks of 2024 seemed to be everything she had hoped for. She was staying in a beautiful apartment in the upscale Salamanca neighborhood and was enjoying the freedom to explore the city and make new friends. Anna's friends reported that she seemed genuinely happy during this time and was excited about the possibilities that lay ahead of her. She was making plans to establish a more permanent presence in Europe and was looking forward to starting fresh. However, unbeknownst to Anna, David was not accepting her decision to end their marriage. Instead of respecting Anna's wishes and working toward an amicable divorce settlement, David began planning something far more sinister. Investigators would later discover that David had been making elaborate preparations for a trip to Europe that would coincide with Anna's time in Madrid. On January 27, 2024, David Knežević flew from Miami International Airport to Istanbul, Turkey. From Turkey, he traveled to Belgrade, Serbia, his native country, where he had maintained connections. Court documents would later reveal that David's trip to Serbia was not a casual visit to see family or friends, but rather the beginning of a carefully orchestrated plan that would end in tragedy. Once in Belgrade, David rented a Peugeot 308 from a local car rental agency on January 29, 2024. The rental agreement was for an extended period from January 29th through March 15th, suggesting that David was planning a lengthy stay in Europe. However, investigators would later discover that David's intentions for the rental car were far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. David left Serbia by car on January 30th, 2024, beginning what would be approximately a 1,600-mile journey to Madrid, Spain. The drive from Belgrade to Madrid takes approximately 26 hours of continuous driving, but David had plenty of time to make the journey since Anna was not expecting him and had no reason to believe he would be traveling to Spain. David's decision to drive rather than fly allowed him to transport items that would have been difficult to bring on an airplane. During his journey from Serbia to Spain, David made several stops that would later prove significant to investigators. He purchased items including spray paint and duct tape from a hardware store in Madrid on February 2nd, 2024, the same day that Ana would disappear. The fact that David was able to locate and purchase these specific items suggested that his visit to Madrid was not spontaneous, but had been carefully planned in advance. Ana's unease grew during the early days of February 2024, though she had no way of knowing that David was already in Madrid. Ana had been enjoying her independence and was making plans for her future when her life took a tragic turn. On February 2nd, 2024, Ana was looking forward to a trip to Barcelona that she had planned with a friend for February 5th. She had no reason to suspect that her estranged husband was in the same city, preparing to execute a plan that would end her life. On the evening of February 2nd, 2024, Ana was last seen alive, entering her apartment building in Madrid at approximately 2:20 p.m. Ana appeared to be in good spirits and was going about her normal routine when she returned to her apartment. She had no way of knowing that this would be the last time anyone would see her alive, or that her estranged husband was already in Madrid and preparing to carry out his plan. Later that evening, at approximately 9:27 p.m., security cameras at Ana's apartment building captured a man wearing a motorcycle helmet entering the building. The man appeared to know exactly where he was going and moved with purpose through the building. Once inside, he was seen holding a can of spray paint and deliberately painting the lens of the security camera to obscure the view. Despite the spray paint, the camera lens was not completely blocked, and the man's actions were partially recorded. The helmeted man was also seen fastening duct tape to the lock of the building's entrance, apparently to ensure he would be able to exit without difficulty. His movements suggested that he was familiar with the building's layout and had planned his actions carefully. The man looked directly at the camera during his activities, and despite the helmet covering most of his face, his physical characteristics were captured on the surveillance footage. At approximately 10:30 p.m., the same helmeted man was captured on camera again, this time leaving the elevator carrying what appeared to be a suitcase. The suitcase had not been visible when the man first entered the building, suggesting that he had acquired it during his time inside. The man's exit from the building was swift and purposeful, and he disappeared from view shortly after leaving through the main entrance. 2 days later, on February 4th, 2024, Spanish firefighters entered Ana's apartment to conduct a welfare check after she failed to appear for her planned trip to Barcelona. When they entered the apartment, they discovered that Ana was nowhere to be found. Her phone, laptop, and chargers were also missing from the apartment, suggesting that someone had removed these items. There were no signs of a struggle or forced entry, which indicated that Ana may have known her attacker. The scene was troubling to the firefighters and police officers who responded to the welfare check. Ana's personal belongings were still in the apartment, but the missing electronic devices suggested that someone had deliberately removed items that could be used to track Ana's location or communications. The absence of any signs of struggle was particularly concerning, as it suggested that Ana may have been taken by surprise or subdued quickly. On the morning of February 3rd, 2024, just hours after Ana had disappeared, several of her friends received strange text messages that purported to be from Ana herself. The messages, sent in both English and Spanish, claimed that Ana had met a wonderful man on the street and was going away with him to a summer house about 2 hours from Madrid. The messages explained that the phone signal would be spotty and that Ana would call when she returned. Ana's friends were immediately suspicious of these messages for several reasons. First, the messages did not sound like Ana's typical communication style or vocabulary. Second, Ana had never before spontaneously run off with a stranger, and such behavior would have been completely out of character for her. Third, Ana had been planning her trip to Barcelona with a friend and would never have simply disappeared without explanation. Her friends' suspicions prompted them to contact Spanish authorities, which launched the investigation into Ana's disappearance. Spanish police began their investigation by examining the security footage from Ana's apartment building and quickly identified the suspicious man in the motorcycle helmet. They traced the brand of spray paint used to obscure the security camera and discovered that a Madrid hardware store had sold the same type of paint, along with 2 rolls of duct tape, to a man who resembled David Knežević on February 2nd, 2024, around noon. The store's security footage captured the transaction, providing crucial evidence linking David to the crime. Investigators also discovered that license plates had been stolen in Madrid during the time period when Ana disappeared. Police license plate readers detected these stolen plates near a motorcycle shop, where an identical helmet to the one worn by the intruder had been purchased. The stolen plates were also detected on Ana's street on the night she disappeared, providing further evidence of a carefully orchestrated plan. Hours after the helmeted man left Ana's apartment building, a Peugeot identical to the one David had rented in Serbia was recorded going through a toll booth near Madrid. The car was sporting the stolen license plates, and the windows had been heavily tinted, making it impossible to see the driver. This evidence suggested that David had used the stolen plates to disguise his rental car and had tinted the windows to avoid being identified by security cameras. Meanwhile, investigators made a shocking discovery about the text messages that had been sent from Anna's phone. They learned that David Knezevich had contacted a Colombian woman he had met on a dating app and asked her to translate specific phrases from English into perfect Colombian Spanish. David had told the woman that he needed the translation for a friend in Serbia who was writing a script about a Colombian character and wanted it to sound authentic. The messages that David asked the Colombian woman to translate were identical to the ones that had been sent from Anna's phone to her friends. The translated message read, "I met someone wonderful. He has a summer house about 2 hours from Madrid. We are going there now and I will spend a few days there. Signal is spotty. I'll call you when I get back." Additional messages stated, "Yesterday after therapy, I needed a walk and he approached me on the street, and amazing connection, like I never had before." The Colombian woman who had helped David with the translation later told investigators that she had informed her mother about meeting a Serbian man online. Her mother had decided to search David's name on the internet and discovered news reports about his missing wife. When the mother told her daughter about the news reports, the woman realized that the messages she had helped translate matched exactly with the messages that Anna's friends had received. This revelation provided investigators with crucial evidence linking David directly to the fraudulent messages. When David returned the Peugeot to the rental agency in Belgrade on March 15, 2024, the car showed signs of extensive modification and use. The vehicle had been driven approximately 4,800 miles, far more than would be expected for normal use within Serbia. The windows had been heavily tinted, the license plate frames had been changed, and 2 identifying stickers had been removed from the vehicle. There was also evidence that the license plates had been removed and then reattached, consistent with the use of stolen plates during the trip to Madrid. The rental car agency owner told investigators that these modifications were unusual and that customers typically returned vehicles in the same condition they had received them. The extensive mileage on the vehicle was consistent with a round trip from Belgrade to Madrid and back, providing further evidence that David had used the car to travel to Spain to carry out his plan against Anna. As the investigation continued, authorities in multiple countries began to coordinate their efforts to build a case against David Knezevich. The FBI worked closely with Spanish police and law enforcement agencies in Serbia and Turkey to trace David's movements and gather evidence. The international cooperation was crucial in piecing together the complex sequence of events that had led to Anna's disappearance. On May 4, 2024, David Knezevich was arrested by FBI agents at Miami International Airport as he arrived on a flight from Serbia. His arrest came after months of investigation by international law enforcement agencies who had been building a case against him based on the extensive evidence they had gathered. David was immediately taken into custody and charged with kidnapping in connection with Anna's disappearance. During his initial court appearance, David Knezevich pleaded not guilty to the kidnapping charges against him. His attorney argued that David was innocent and had been in Serbia at the time of Anna's disappearance. However, prosecutors presented evidence showing that David had traveled from Serbia to Madrid during the time frame when Anna had disappeared, contradicting his claims about his whereabouts. In November 2024, a federal grand jury in Miami filed additional charges against David Knezevich. The new indictment charged him with kidnapping resulting in death, foreign domestic violence resulting in death, and foreign murder of a United States national. The upgraded charges reflected prosecutors' belief that Anna had been killed during the kidnapping, even though her body had never been found. The indictment alleged that David had traveled from Miami-Dade to Madrid with the intent to kill, injure, harass, and intimidate his spouse and intimate partner, and had committed a crime of violence against her that resulted in her death. The charges carried the potential for the death penalty if David was convicted, reflecting the severity of the allegations against him. Throughout the legal proceedings, David Knezevich remained in custody without bond. Federal prosecutors argued that he posed both a danger to the community and a flight risk, given his extensive international connections and substantial financial resources. David's attorneys had requested his release on bond, but the judge denied their request, finding that the evidence against him was substantial and that he posed too great a risk to be released. As the case progressed, investigators continued to search for Anna's body in locations throughout Spain and other parts of Europe. Despite extensive search efforts involving multiple law enforcement agencies, Anna's remains were never recovered. The lack of a body made the case more challenging to prosecute, but investigators remained confident that they had sufficient evidence to prove that David had killed his estranged wife. Anna's family remained steadfast in their belief that David was responsible for her disappearance and death. Her brothers, Diego and Felipe Henao, issued statements supporting the charges against David and expressing their hope that justice would be served. They described Anna as a loving and intelligent woman who had been trying to escape from an abusive marriage when her life was tragically cut short. In February 2025, prosecutors revealed additional evidence that they argued demonstrated David's murder mindset in the months leading up to Anna's disappearance. FBI agents who had searched David's Fort Lauderdale home discovered a notebook containing quotes that prosecutors described as revealing David's state of mind. One quote, attributed to Joseph Stalin, read, "Death solves all problems." Prosecutors argued that this evidence showed that David had been contemplating violence against Anna before carrying out his plan. The case continued to generate international attention as it highlighted the dangers that victims of domestic violence face when trying to leave abusive relationships. Anna's story became a symbol of the challenges that many women face when trying to escape controlling and dangerous partners, particularly when significant financial assets are involved. However, on April 28, 2025, the case took an unexpected turn when David Kniezevich was found dead in his jail cell at the Federal Detention Center in Miami. Officials with the U.S. Department of Justice Federal Bureau of Prisons announced that David was found unresponsive at approximately 8:15 a.m. and was pronounced dead despite life-saving efforts by emergency medical personnel. His defense attorney later confirmed that David had died by suicide. David's death brought a sudden end to the legal proceedings against him, leaving many questions unanswered about what exactly had happened to Anna and where her body might be located. His suicide was seen by many as an admission of guilt, though it also meant that Anna's family would never have the opportunity to see him face trial for his alleged crimes. Anna's family released a statement through their attorney following David's death. The suicide of Anna's murderer closes a painful chapter in our lives, previously filled with the dread that he might not face justice. Now, we may never know where he put Anna's body. It is a cruel final insult that we may never recover Anna's remains or know the full extent of the betrayal she suffered. Still, we remain committed to seeking the truth and justice for Anna and to preserving Anna's memory while honoring her life with dignity, strength, and love. Despite David's death, law enforcement agencies announced that they would continue their investigation in hopes of locating Anna's remains and providing closure to her family. The case remains a reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic violence and the importance of recognizing the red flags of abusive relationships before they escalate to